Hi, welcome to my craft corner. I'm Heidi with Onigo Stamping. I'm really excited today because I have a card to share with you using the Coming Home stamp set. The stamp set is from the August to December mini catalog, and it features all of these great little house images that you can use together. I'm also going to be sharing some masking techniques to create great depth and overlapping houses, as well as coloring techniques with the Stampin Blends alcohol markers. Lots of great tips and techniques going on today. Before I get started, if you have any questions about card making or stamping or scrapbooking, or if you need help ordering Stampin Up product, or if you'd like to attend an event or maybe host your own event, or maybe you have questions about becoming a Stampin Up demonstrator, I would love to help you with any of that or all of it. Just go ahead and leave a comment to this video or send me an email and let me know how I can help you. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. More information, photos, and dimensions, all the products can be found following the links that are in the description to this video. All right, Onigo, let's get stamping. Today's card uses the Coming Home stamp set. This is a great stamp set that has a number of different houses, as well as some trees and a little Volkswagen bug looking car. So really cute set. It does have matching dies that go with it. It also has matching pattern paper, the designer series paper that matches this stamp set. I do not currently have that paper, and so this card doesn't use it, but it is absolutely gorgeous, and I plan to pick it up in October when it is on sale. So that's coming up in just another week. All right, so let's get started on this. I've gone ahead and I have put the stamps that I'm going to be using on some clear blocks. So those are all ready to go. I'm going to be doing some masking today. So sometimes when I do the masking, I find it helpful to start by laying out my design on a piece of scrap paper. So let me show you what I have done. I have stamped this whole series of houses on this piece of scrap paper, and you can see that they all overlap. Now, when I actually do this for real, I don't want to see all those lines within, but by doing this on scrap paper first, I can tell which houses are closest to the bottom and should therefore be in the front. Okay, so I'm going to go from the bottom to the top because the ones that are furthest to the bottom are the ones that would be furthest in front, because that's the way the perspective works on it. So I'm going to start by stamping these ones in the front. I have a piece of Whisper white cardstock that is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And I'm going to be using some Memento ink because I will be doing some coloring with some blends. And with the blends, you always want to use the Memento ink. So I'm just going to ink up my first house. And I will start by stamping that all the way over here to the right. This house is also on the left side of the card and is also one of the furthest forward in that side of the card. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp it again on the left side. Trying to get it just a little bit higher perhaps than the one on the right so they're not in a line. So just like that. Now I want to go ahead and I want to mask these stamps. To do the masking, I have some sticky notes, and I'm going to stamp this image on a sticky note. So just quickly ink it up again, and I want to stamp as much of the image as I can on the part that is sticky. So I'm going to do it all the way over here to the left. Now I'll take my paper snips and I will cut this out. So just peel off that sticky note. When you're cutting, you want to cut either, this line is thick enough you could cut in the center of the line or just to the inside of the line, because this will help keep it from getting a halo effect around it. If you cut outside of the line because of the thickness of the sticky note, the next stamp is going to be even further out, and you'll find that you get kind of a halo instead of those being nice and butted up right next to each other. So either just inside or down the center of this black line even. Luckily, these houses, they do have dies, like I said, but the die, of course, would leave some space on the outside. So you don't want to use the dies to cut the masking because it won't stamp all the way to the edge for the next image. There's my little house. That's my mask. And I will lay this over. So here's my piece of paper again. I'm going to lay this over this first house on the right. Then I will come in with this house. You can see this house in on the scrap paper that I stamped, and that's kind of the next one furthest down. So I'm going to stamp that one second. Inking it up again with the memento. And then just stamping it like that. Now, before I started today, I went ahead and I made some more masks, and I've already used them. So you can save these, stick these in your stamp box, in your stamp case with the rest of the set, and then just use them over and over again until they get, so bad that you just, can't use them anymore. They're not sticky or whatever. But you'll find that you can use them quite a few times. So now I'm going to stamp another one of those tall houses. And I'm just going to keep going in this way all the way up the card. All right, so I've stamped all the way up my card, moving my masks as I needed to as I went up. And now it's time for the big reveal. I'm gonna go ahead and pull off all of these masks so you can see this background that I have made. And you can see how those masks make it so that the houses that are behind the other houses the lines don't go through the houses that are in front. So there's the whole scene that I've created. I want to also stamp a house that I'm actually going to color, and I wanted to stamp that on a piece of Whisper White cardstock. Now that I have stamped the entire background, I want to make a focal point house that I'm actually going to cut out and I'm going to color. And I want to do some masking on this as well because I want to create a larger house. What's really great about this stamp set is that you can combine the different house shapes to create larger, more complex houses. So I will start with this little one that could be either just a little house all on its own, or it could be the porch or a front portion of the house. So I'll start by stamping that first. And once again, I will cover this up with my mask. And then I'm going to stamp this larger portion of the house. And you can see how these just build together. So just trying to decide exactly where I want to stamp this, making sure both of the bottoms are straight. And now when I peel this piece off, you can see that I have created a larger house. Next, I want to color my house. I'm going to be using Stampin Blends for this. These are alcohol markers. That's why I use the Memento ink when I stamped, because when you're using alcohol markers, you want to make sure that you're not using an alcohol ink. Memento is not an alcohol ink, so it works really well. It's not going to run. I'm going to use a number of different colors. I'm going to go ahead and start with the windows. And I'm using the Daffodil Delight light and dark Stampin' Blends for these. And I will start by coloring with the light one. I'm not even going to color all the way to the outside. I'm just going to color in most of the window on each of these. But I really like to make the windows kind of look like they have a soft glow going on inside of them. So now I'm going to take the dark one and I will just color in the centers. To encourage this to blend even more and to soften it even more so that it really has that nice glow to it, I'm using the color lifter. This will just help lift some of that color and soften it out towards the edges a little bit. I'm just coloring all the way over and really getting those. Now, normally when you're coloring, you don't necessarily need to use the color lifter to blend things together. But because I really want this light yellow, it helps give it that real soft glow. Now I want to color the house, and I am going to color the house with Crumb Cake. Once again, I will start with the light color of Crumb Cake, and I will just quickly color in all of my house, all of the portions of the house that are going to be Crumb Cake colored. Being careful to try not to color in other areas. Trying to stay within the lines here. Then I want to do some shading. To do the shading, I will color in areas that are probably underneath and to one side, the edges of things. And I'm using the dark Crumb Cake Stampin' Blend to do this. When I have the dark in there, then I will go back with the light Crumb Cake and I will color over that again to blend that in a little bit more. Do you want to let the alcohol dry just a little bit, and then the color will layer on top more? Next, I'm going to color the door with pumpkin pie. I've decided I want my house to have orange accents. I'm also going to do the clapboard back here at the back. Just very carefully coloring all that in with the light pumpkin pie. Then I'll come back with the dark pumpkin pie and do a little shading. Shade a little bit on my door too. Once again, I'll go back over with the light pumpkin pie and just color right back over all of that I just did to blend it together. The last bit is I want to do the roof, and for that I am using soft suede. I'm going to use the light soft suede on the shingles on the front. And then I'm going to use the dark soft suede on the actual roof. Just very lightly. You don't want to push down. The tips are very fine, and if you push too much, you will ruin your tips. So just like that, I have now colored my house. Now I could cut this out with the dies, but because I put that front porch on there and I decided not to do them as two separate pieces, I actually can't cut it with the die anymore because the die is not shaped exactly like that. It's shaped like the two individual pieces. So I could have stamped these two individually and then cut them out with the dies, but instead I stamped them together, and I'm just going to cut them with my paper snips. All right, I've cut that all out now. Normally when I fussy cut, I would leave a little bit of an edge all the way around, but because the lines are thick enough and because they're all very straight, I went ahead and cut right up next to those lines so it's very, very flush. This is going to be situated on my card front, right down here. But before I put that on, I actually want to cut a little border of snow or grass, whatever you want it to be, that I'm going to put over top of the edge just to cover up the edge of these other houses. So I have a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I'm going to be using the Home Together dies. And in these dies, there are two different kind of snowy hill type dies. One has trees on it and one is just blank. I'm going to use the blank one. And I'm just going to cut off the top of my piece of paper. I cut that with my die cutting machine, so I have a nice wavy edge. Now I will adhere that to my card front, and it's going to go right down here to cover up the edge. So I'll just put down some adhesive, and then I'm going to lay this on here kind of how I want it. And then I'll actually trim this out. So I just line up the edge of my paper snips with the edge of the card front. Now I'll add my house to the front of that. And I love the way that this colored house pops against the black and white of the background. So I'll just lay that on there, glue it in place, and then we're going to add the greeting. So I've already cut some hoorays. I have two soft suede ones and one pumpkin pie one. And then I'm using the Well Said stamp set. So the hoorays come from the Well Written dies, and then this is the coordinating stamp set that's called Well Said. And I want to find the one that says Time for a New Adventure. Here it is. And I will stamp this on the bottom of my card. That's just going on the very bottom, and I want to stack up these hoorays. I like to use the two different colors, the dark color underneath. It just kind of gives it a little look, a little dark edge underneath there. You could use white if you wanted, but I'm just putting little dots of glue in different areas on here, trying not to get too much. And then I'll glue those first two together, lining them up as best I can. They like to get in line, so. And then I'll add the third one on top. This just gives it a little extra dimension. So I'll add the pumpkin pie one. Just like that. And then I'm going to add this to the front of my card. So I will just stamp this across the front of my card at a little bit of an angle. Again, I'm just adding droplets of glue, little dots of glue to the back. Now I just need to finish. So I have a piece of pumpkin pie. So this Whisper White cardstock was 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And I have a piece of pumpkin pie cardstock that is 3 15/16 by 5 3/16. I don't know why I'm putting the glue on the orange. So this will just give it a nice thin mat. A little pop of orange all the way around to match the door on my little house. And then I have a piece of 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 soft suede that I will just fold in half. Fold this and give it a nice crease with my bone folder. And then we'll finish this off by adding it with Stampin' Dimensionals, of course. What do I always use? Stampin' Dimensionals. Everything's got to have a little bit of depth to it. I think if it doesn't have depth or texture, is it really handmade? Like, that's the difference to me between a handmade card and a card you can buy from the store, is the amount of depth and texture and little bits and bobs and things that you can put on it. All right, so line this up and put that right on the front. And there is my completed card. Perfect to give somebody who maybe just bought a new house or moved into a new apartment, or maybe somebody who's moving away from you, to say goodbye to them. Thank you again for joining me today. Wasn't that card great? I just love how all those houses stack up against each other in the background, and then you have that pop of color in the front. Just so cute. If you need any of the dimensions for today's card or any of the products, you're going to find links to that information in the description to this video. If you liked today's video, please make sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and come back again for more stamping tips and techniques. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.